Hello everyone, Mocha Bear here. Welcome back to Mocha Bear's Hobby Den. Today we're going to be finally starting on the playlist for D&D 5e races. Shall we get started? So we've talked about this for a while, talked about getting it started. Well, we are finally gonna get this started. I am in the process of moving right now, so gotta get this backlog going for you all, so that way I can start recording regularly at the new place once I'm in and settled in. But for today, we are starting with the official Wizards of the Coast 5e playable races, and we are gonna start the best place to start, especially for you beginners out there. We are going to be starting at the Player's Handbook. Anyone who's new to playing D&D 5e and you're going to be playing your first game ever, I always recommend just using the races and classes in the Player's Handbook for your first time, just because it's easier to follow all of that, and not everybody has all of the extra books. So I'm looking at the wrong camera. Goodness. But not everyone's going to have all the extra books. The Player's Handbook is one that your DM should have and that everyone who's starting out should have. And as you can see, I'm using a PDF, so you have free access to it as long as you have access to the internet. So we are going to go to the first of the races in here, and that is going to be Dwarves. So I was going to do a thing where I was going to read all of their lore and all of that, which would be cool, but I feel like it would take too long. So we're going to see what we can do here, but here is the picture of the dwarf from the Player's Handbook. If you wish, you can pause the video here to read the information on here if you want. I would read it, but it would take a long time. It would make these videos way too long, in my opinion. So, dwarf names. So the Player's Handbook gives you recommendations. I believe most of the books by Wizards of the Coast give you name recommendations. So here you can see you've got male names, female names, and clan names. Of course, you don't have to use these. You can come up with one on your own. You can bring up a random name generator on the internet. One of the books even has a name table at the back of it. I believe it might be Volo's Guide. I'm not 100% sure. You have name recommendations here. Then you have the dwarf traits. So here you've got the ability score increase. Your constitution score increases by 2. Now, I've mentioned about ability score increases in previous videos when I've done character creations. In fact, there is a playlist for these. Thumbnails right here. I recommend checking out. If you want, the link to that playlist will be in the description box down below. You can check you can check those out as well. Now, because of Tasha's Cauldron, and then showing in Mordekainen's Monsters of the Multiverse, and all the books came after Tasha's Cauldron, actually. The ability scores are different now. You can choose any ability score to increase by 2, and then any other ability score to increase by 1, or you can increase 3 ability scores by 1. Most people aren't going to be using the traditional ability score increases from the Player's Handbook anymore, but it's an option. The age, dwarves mature at the same rate as humans, but they're considered young until they reach the age of 50. On average, they live about 350 years. Then we've got alignment. Most dwarves are lawful, believing firmly in the benefits of well-ordered society. They tend towards good as well, with a strong sense of fair play and a belief that everyone deserves to share in the benefits of a just order. Of course, these are recommendations. You don't have to go by these. You can make whatever alignment you want. Size, dwarves stand between 4 and 5 feet tall and average about 150 pounds. Your size is medium. Speed, your base walking speed is 25 feet. Your speed is not reduced by wearing heavy armor. So dwarves are one of the few races in the game that have a slower walking speed. Still, actually, because in Mordekainen's Monsters of the Multiverse, the shorter races all have 30 base walking speed now, I believe. Dark vision, accustomed to life underground, you have superior vision in dark and dim conditions. You can see in dim light within 60 feet of you as if it were bright light, and in darkness as if it were dim light. You can't discern color in darkness, only shades of gray. Dwarven resilience. You have advantage on saving throws against poison, and you have resistance against poison damage, which is explained in Chapter 9 of the Player's Handbook. Dwarven combat training. You have proficiency with the battle axe, hand axe, throwing hammer, and warhammer. Tool proficiency. You gain proficiency with the artisan's tool of your choice, which are smith's tools, brewer's supplies, or mason's tools. Stone cunning. Whenever you make an intelligence history check related to the origin of stonework, you are considered proficient in the history skill and add double your proficiency bonus to the check instead of your normal proficiency bonus. Languages. You can speak, read, and write Common and Dwarvish. Dwarvish is full of hard consonants and guttural sounds, and those characteristics spill over into whatever other languages a dwarf might speak. Subrace. Two main subraces of dwarves populate the worlds of D&D, Hill Dwarves and Mountain Dwarves. Choose one of these subraces. The first subrace is Hill Dwarf. Ability score increase, your wisdom score increases by 1. So if you go with a Hill Dwarf, you get the +2 con for being a dwarf and the +1 wisdom for being a Hill Dwarf. Dwarven Toughness. Your hit point maximum increases by 1, and it increases by 1 every time you gain a level. Then we have the other subrace, the Mountain Dwarf. Ability score increase. Your strength score increases by 2. So if you went with a Mountain Dwarf, you would get a +2 to Constitution and a +2 to Strength. So for some reason, I skipped Dwarven Armor training. You have proficiency with light and medium armor. And then here in the box you see Duergar. In cities deep in the Underdark live the Duergar, or Grey Dwarves. These vicious, stealthy slave traders raid the surface world for captives, then sell their prey to the other races of the Underdark. They have innate magical abilities to become invisible and to temporarily grow to giant size, which is in another book. We will get to that when we get to it. So next up we have the Elves. Slender and graceful. So here we have another thing for elf names. And a note here for elves, they have child names. So elves are considered children until they declare themselves adults sometime after their 100th birthday. And before this period, they are called by child names. So after that, they are called by an adult name. So here you see child names. Then we have male adult names. And then we have female adult names and family names. So elf traits, we can bring this back up, make sure, yeah, we're still good. So ability score increase, your dex score is increased by 2. Age, although elves reach physical maturity at about the same age as humans, the elven understanding of adulthood goes beyond physical growth to encompass worldly experience. An elf typically claims adulthood and an adult name around the age of 100 and can live to be 750 years old. Alignment. Elves love freedom, variety, and self-expression, so they lean strongly towards the gentler aspects of chaos. They value and protect others' freedoms as well as their own, and they are more often good than not. Drow are an exception. Their exile into the Underdark has made them vicious and dangerous. Drow are more often evil than not. Size. Elves range from under 5 to over 6 feet tall and have slender builds. Your size is medium. Speed. Your base walking speed is 30 feet. Dark vision, so again, dark vision just like the dwarves have. Keen senses, you have proficiency in the perception skill. Fey ancestry, you have advantage on saving throws against being charmed, and magic can't put you to sleep. Trance, now trance has been updated word-wise in the Mordenkainen's Monsters of the Multiverse book, but here it goes, elves don't need to sleep. Instead, they meditate deeply, remaining subconscious for 4 hours a day. The common word for such meditation is trance. While meditating, you can dream after a fashion. Such dreams are actually mental exercises that have become reflexive through years of practice. After resting in this way, you gain the same benefit that a human does from 8 hours of sleep. Now, languages. You can speak, read, and write Common and Elvish. Elvish is fluid with subtle intonations and intricate grammar. Elven literature is rich and varied, and their songs and poems are famous among other races. Many bards learn their language so they can add Elvish ballads to their repertoire. Subrace. Now there's a lot of information here. I'm not going to read all of that for the High Elves. So the first subrace is High Elf. Now there's a lot of information there. I'm not going to read all of it. If you want, you can pause the video here. Make sure, yeah, you can see that. We're going to pause it here if you want, and you can read all that. But we're going to move on to the ability score increase. Your intelligence score increases by 1, so dex increases by 2. High Elf gets a +1 to intelligence, so really good for wizards and artificers. And then we have Elf weapon training. You have proficiency with the longsword, short bow, and longbow. You do get a cantrip. You know one cantrip of your choice from the wizard spell list. Intelligence is your spellcasting ability for it. You also gain an extra language, so you can speak, read, and write one extra language of your choice. Next up is the Wood Elf. They get the ability score increase of 1 to Wisdom, Elf weapon training, which is you have proficiency with a long sword, short bow, and long bow, so perfect for rangers. Fleet of Foot. Your base walking speed increases to 35 feet, making them the fastest walking playable race by default. Mask of the Wild. You can attempt to hide even when you are only lightly obscured by foliage, heavy rain, falling snow, mist, and other natural phenomena. Lastly, Dark Elf or Drow. I said in High Elf, forgot to say during the Wood Elf. If you want to read the little bit of information about them, pause the video here and you can read that. But ability score increase is Charisma by 1. They have superior dark vision, so same as the standard dark vision as far as rules go, but the distance is doubled so they can see in the darkness up to 120 feet instead of just the standard 60. Sunlight sensitivity. You have disadvantage on attack rolls and wisdom perception checks that rely on sight when you, the target of your attack, or whatever you are trying to perceive is in direct sunlight. Drow magic. You know the Dancing Lights cantrip. When you reach 3rd level, you can cast the Fairy Fire spell once per day. When you reach 5th level, you can also cast the Darkness spell once per day. Charisma is your spell casting ability for these spells. And then Drow weapon training. You have proficiency with rapiers, short swords, and hand crossbows. And then next up we have Halflings. Small and practical. Let's see here. Blend into the crowd. So we have some Halfling names. Halfling traits, here we go. Ability score increase. Your dexterity score increases by 2. Age. A halfling reaches adulthood at the age of 20 and generally lives into the middle of his or her 2nd century. Alignment. Most halflings are lawful good. As a rule, they are good-hearted and kind, hate to see others in pain, and have no tolerance for oppression. They are also very orderly and traditional, leaning heavily on the support of their community and the comfort of their old ways. Size. Halflings average about 3 feet tall and weigh about 40 pounds. Your size is small. Speed. Your walking speed is 25 feet. Lucky. When you roll a 1 on an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw, you can re-roll the die and must use the new roll. Brave. You have advantage on saving throws against being frightened. Halfling nimbleness. You can move through the space of any creature that is of a size larger than yours. Languages. You can speak, read, and write Common and Halfling. The Halfling language isn't secret, but Halflings are loath to share it with others. They write very little, so they don't have a rich body of literature. Their oral traditions, however, is very strong. Almost all Halflings speak Common to converse with the people in whose lands they dwell or through which they are traveling. Subraces. The two main kinds of Halflings, Lightfoot and Stout, are more than closely related families than true subraces. Choose one of these subraces. So you have Lightfoot, and of course, again, pause and read the info if you want. Ability score increase is +1 to Charisma, and naturally stealthy. You can attempt to hide even when you are obscured only by a creature that is at least one size larger than you, which is going to be most races. Stout. They get a +1 to Constitution for their ability score increase, and they have Stout Resilience. You have advantage on saving throws against poison, and you have resistance against poison damage. Alright. And then Human. We will do, Humans is where we will end today's video. We're not going to do the full book in one sitting. Gonna make this spread out for you all. But here are some names and ethnicity options here for you based on where they are from. So if you want, you can pause it and look at all of them. Human traits. Ability score increase. Your ability scores each increase by 1. So all 6 will get a +1. Age. Humans reach adulthood in their late teens and live less than a century. Alignment. Humans tend toward no particular alignment. The best and the worst are found among them. Size. Humans vary widely in height and build, from barely 5 feet to well over 6 feet tall. Regardless of your position in that range, your size is medium. Speed. Your base walking speed is 30 feet. Languages. You can speak, read, and write Common and 1 extra language of your choice. Humans typically learn the language of the other peoples they deal with, including obscure dialects. They are fond of sprinkling their speech with words borrowed from other tongues, orc curses, elvish musical expressions, dwarvish military phrases, and so on. And I do want to point this out here at the bottom. Make sure, yeah, you can see that. Variant human traits. If your campaign uses the optional feat rules from Chapter 5, your Dungeon Master might allow these variant traits, all of which replace the human's ability score increase trait. So that is ability score increase is 2 different ability scores of your choice increased by 1, but you also gain the skill, which is proficiency in 1 skill of your choice. And you also gain a feat. You gain 1 feat of your choice. Alright, so, like I said, they're probably all going to be a little bit this short. We don't want them going to be too long. I don't want it to bombard you with too much information like I typically would want to. But something simple, and I figure this is a nice, easy pace. It's going to be making these a little short for me, which is easier to edit and allow me to get a lot more of them filmed and prepared for you all. I'm going to be doing these periodically. I'm not going to have them one after the other, after the other, after the other until they're done. In fact, I have a Kickstarter project that's shipped out or is about to ship out as of the time of recording this. So that'll probably arrive the week that you're watching this. So that might be the next episode. I'm not 100% sure. It depends on when it arrives. But if the project doesn't arrive in time for me to film it before Sunday, next Sunday, then there'll just be another episode of this coming up for you all to watch, and it will probably finish off the races from the Player's Handbook. Once we are done with the official Wizards of the Coast 5e races from the books that I physically have, we will move on to the third-party races. So that will be stuff from Kobold Press, Even Tier Games, Dren Protection Games, all those third-party products we'll be jumping into, so I'm excited about that. So let me know if you're excited about what I'm doing here, if you're interested to learn about the other races. Once I'm done with all of the races for 5e, we are going to move on to the classes, and we'll see if I do subclasses with them or if we just do the classes and then subclasses will be their own separate thing. I'm super excited for this, like I've said. Let me know in the comments down below if you think this is a cool idea, if you think this is a dumb idea, what you would prefer to see. We might be able to change things up. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But please also give this video a like if you think that this is cool, if you enjoy this video, if you're excited, if you're new to D&D, a veteran to D&D, or in between. Give this video a like. Also, hit the subscribe button if you haven't subscribed already, and hit the bell icon and change notifications to all so you get notified when I upload videos, because I do Kickstarter promotion videos, nowhere as much as I used to, but I still do some of them. Also, please share this video, spread awareness to it. Let's bring more nerds into the hobby. But I'm gonna go ahead and end it there because I will go on and on. So please, as always, take care of yourselves, and until next time, hobby on.